Hey everybody, this is Marcia. How you guys doing? This is happy holidays and hopefully happy New Year. And I am being told every time I do this, Facebook changes everything. It's crazy, isn't it? So hold on, give me a second, guys. Here it's saying bad quality, so we'll see. Okay, popping back in here. All right, here we go. And nonetheless, I'm popping all that stuff out of here too. All right, cool. So one of the things I want to talk about is obviously the holidays. And obviously, the holidays, the Christmas is actually this Saturday. Very excited about that. And it's interesting to see all the questions that pop up during the holidays. But by the way, I'm Marcia O'Connor, and CEO and founder of the O'Connor Group. We are an outsourced HR outsourced recruiting group out in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So welcome to everybody's show. Um, I look forward to seeing everybody. Ask questions away. Feel free to, I'm going to go back and forth to make sure I can actually see questions on here too. So hopefully I can do that. But nonetheless, here we go. Right, guys? All right. So, Carrington, hello, Carrington. Always good to hear from you. And what is the best way to learn how to answer objections in a confident manner? This obviously they run a commercial photography business specializing in product photography. When talking with prospective clients, what is a good way to increase confidence and learn answers to questions or objections that won't lead to more questions? To be honest with you, Carrington, this just takes a lot of time and experience. And you know what you want to do? You just got to go in there. You know what I used to do when I first started? I would go into the ladies' room and I would actually script out what I was going to say. And I would go in there with like not one negative word whatsoever. And I would go, especially when I did sales, I would go into that conversation. It was like, I got this. And I'm actually going to leave with basically something on the calendar, moving it forward as if we won it, whether we had won it or not. And when you say that to people, there are certain words that I was taught over the years, and one of them is confused. I'm confused, and that sort of says you're not wrong, but I just want to hear more from you why you were saying that stuff. Even though in my head I'm thinking, I'm not quite sure we're on the same page here. I don't want this person getting angry at me, so I'll say I'm confused to get a better grip as to what's really going on, so we can have a win-win conversation there. But when you answer objections, you just want to make sure that there's a win-win conversation out of it. And when you do it enough, you just have it real positive, like, hey, I really appreciate that. This is what we're going to be doing. This is how it's going to go. It takes a little while to do it. And I have this great saying that I share with all my team. It's basically, it controls you or you control it. And so I know that I used to leave conversations where I would get angry and mad because it didn't go the way I wanted to. And then I got realized that I was getting mad at myself because I had the power to change those conversations and I wasn't listening to that. So I started going in and actually visualizing how that conversation was going to go and what I was going to say and how if they came back to me, how I was going to basically approach that. And I would go over it in my head a zillion times before I actually had that conversation. And you know what? It worked out really well. So much so now that I do it all the time, even when I like purchase something or have a conversation with my husband. And it's really interesting to see how it works. But you just have to go in it with basically a visualization of how you expect that outcome. And trust me, if you go in it but not being prepared and not having that positivity, it's going to show in that conversation. So that's why I say just practice, practice, practice with that. And it'll come with age too. But to be honest with you, when you first start off, you really just want to go in it like, this is why. And truly visualize it, get in front of a mirror, have that conversation, go through it a few times so that you go in it and you are so confident. But the big key, um, no matter what and how old you get, is that you listen more than basically you talk. And that is a magic gem that someone taught me a long time ago. It still teaches me that about basically let them talk. And then when you start getting them talk, you get their pain points when they start talking about verbs and stuff like that. Like, well, this didn't work and I had problems or this or whatever. Those kind of words are like gold because what's going to happen is you're going to pick up on that and your service or your product is going to basically cure that for them, and that's how you get in there. So I hope that helps a little bit. If you need anything else, always feel free to reach out to me, O'Connor at tocgrp.com. All right, next question is from you as well, so thank you. What are ways or key points when organizing prepping for the upcoming year? And you had mentioned throughout my AO journey so far, I'm getting more organized with a vision, plan, goals. Whoa, whoa. What are the key areas to focus on when prepping for the new year? You know what? What I typically do with my team is we go through the entire year where we think we're going to be with sales, marketing, and people. And so, people, process, technology, basically. And literally, I have a plan for the entire year next year of like what that looks like in regards to how many hires and how many this. Now, you're probably going to say, well, it's going to change so much. And what's the sense of it? When you write stuff down and you put something down in front of you, the likelihood of that happening is like threefold. You really want to make sure that you do that. A lot of entrepreneurs, when they first start, they get scared of seeing those results. And they get scared because of not basically achieving those results. And that basically is a no no. You want to make it basically BHAG, you know, big, hairy, audacious goal. Um, but you want to make sure that you have it where you feel as if you can accomplish this, and you want to make sure your team knows it too, because you can't do this by yourself. So if you do have a team, you make sure they know it. But if it's just you, just make sure you're accountable with it and share it maybe with another CEO that's going through the same thing as you and saying, "This is where I'm at. What do you think?" Because you don't want to do this by yourself. You can get very lonely. But write everything down, all the way in regards to how many sales, how many calls, what are you looking for? Your marketing, everything. It should be in a plan for you. Now, it takes time to do that. And one of the things I did when I first got started, I joined a group too called 10,000 Small Businesses, Goldman Sachs. And the nice thing about that group was it really made me put in paper all these things, because I always be that person like, I'll get to it, I'll get to it, I'll get to it. Well, this report I had to get done to actually graduate from this class. And ironically enough, I still go back to it because I look back to it to remind myself like all the things I wrote down. But now I actually have it in my annual plan because of how important it was to do that. But you got to start somewhere. If y'all need to see that plan at all, let me know. I can actually send it off to you guys. But it was really helpful for me to basically put everything in play. Um, and that's going to help you out a lot. All right, next question. Kimberly Vincent. Hello, Kimberly. How can I reach more prospects in a quicker time frame? You know what? Honestly enough, you got to keep in mind it's not that there's a magic gel behind it. People just need to know who you are, what you do, what you bring to the table. And ironically enough, it's not so much about selling out there. It's about helping out there. And one of the ways, we realized last year when COVID hit, it impacted us big time because we're billable, right? And we need recruiting and HR services. And people were like, "What do I need? Do I really need you right now?" Yada yada. So our billables went from here, like right down. And we had to come up with a plan of not so much sales and being in your face again, but how could we do to help? What could we do? So we actually came up with a bunch of like Zooms that we geared to our clients. We actually came up with four different groups for our CEOs, our talent people, our HR people, and then we put together this thing called Ask HR Office Hours, which was a free 1 hour time frame of offering advice for free. And it really helped out a lot of our clients going through a really tough time. And that goodwill, I mean, we weren't even thinking of it of how it would impact. That goodwill helped us so much this year in regards to all these clients that came to us and said, "I remember seeing you out there. I remember everything you used to do," and they were so excited about all that. So you definitely want to start thinking about, just ways to get out there in the forefront of your team. And you want to say, like, how can I be a subject matter expert? What can I do out there? And so it's just all those different things you want to make sure that you are aware of. Um, just a heads up. But the sales part is interesting because I learned from this past like 5 years, sales comes more by you helping others and being out there as a voice versus basically sell, sell, sell. And so think of something that you are doing. For example, if you have a bakery, how else can you get out there in regards to just ideas that people could use your cakes or your cookies? And so it'd be very, very helpful to do all that. So I'm trying to figure out, I'm getting all these issues on my Facebook today, but it's the season. Ta-da! Anyway, here we go. Next question for you. And Rosalie Alacoque, I hope that's right. What is the best way to introduce policy changes and retainer increase to existing clients? It's so funny you say that because at year end, everybody does all these price increases, right? Sometimes you just got to basically just let it out there. And I have a person on my team, she's so good at this. And she explains like how well the year was, and this is what we're doing, and we had some price increases with this or that. Um, you're an accounting firm. You have been very flexible and have helped clients apply for loans or grants at no additional cost to them. It's great. Going above and beyond for clients and would like to get compensated accordingly. I want to implement these changes without too much backlash. Totally agree. It's all how you deliver the message. So for us, we had same thing. We had given out so much like free advice here and there. We totally get it. And so we came up with the idea is like, hey, up to 3 hours we were giving it for free kind of a thing. After that, we would say, hey, we'll probably time to do a contract here and get things moving. And so it's real. It's a touchy situation because everybody's still starting out and they want to get the stuff for free kind of a deal. But what I would do is just say, hey, it's year end, and just let you know for next year, here's some of the changes that we're doing. We're really looking forward to working with you. But, as you know, we're growing, so our costs are increasing. So just want to give you an idea that this is going to be happening for next year. And I just wish you happy holidays. And most people will understand that, this stuff shouldn't be for free. And some people will backlash on it. But like I said, you have to go with a grain of salt. You have to go out there and be positive, and you just have to basically say, hey, this is where we're at, this is what we're doing. We're so looking forward to working with you for next year. And just let people know ahead of time. What you don't want to do is basically send an invoice and they didn't know ahead of time that you were doing that. That's a no-no because they don't like that out there. But those are the best things to do. And just be honest. Have the honest conversation. Like, listen, so great we could help you out with that, but moving forward, we're going to have to do this, yada, yada. And most people completely understand all that. You just have to have that conversation. Okay. Very, very important to do. Listen, and you'll always get backlash. No matter how big or how small you are, you're going to get backlash somehow. You got to be okay with that conversation. Okay. Next question, Kristen Pitts. Hello, Kristen. As a daughter of a family based business that my dad built, what are the best ways to get meaningful conversations with my father as I look to take on more responsibility? And your backup. You work with your dad in his company for 4 months now as his COO and partner. Congratulations. Everything was great in the beginning. He went from overly impressed by small changes I've made and my overall work to now disrespecting me, belittling me, and trying to find things to be upset with me about. He feels like he wants me to fail and is always contradicting what he says. I don't know what to do. Well, 10 to 1. Um, you're his daughter, number one. Number two, my dad was really super tough on me, and there's a piece of him that might be feeling a little bit jealous because you're probably giving him a lot of these ideas that he hasn't done before, and everybody's looked to him as the person to go to, and letting go of that ownership is really hard, especially if you've been doing it for a long, long time and being that person that they always go to, and now your daughter's coming in now. Probably not the best way to approach it if someone belittling you and all, but I'm sure that's more of a fear than anything else. And you know what? What you're going to have to do is have that conversation with them. And you know what? You don't want to do it at work. You don't want to do it at home. You want to do it someplace offsite with a coffee and just and write down your thoughts on this and just like, I really want to help you. I want to be there, but I feel this is what I'm getting back from you. Is everything okay? And you push it off so they don't become defensive and shut down. But I was like, I really want to basically help you out and maybe take on more responsibility and one day maybe run this, but I need your help on that. And you got to be honest and open with it because if you don't address that now, all those things, they're going to get worse. And I hate it. Listen, I know it's scary. It's your dad. Trust me. I know how my dad was. But you got to really you get to the point where you had to have that responsibility. And if you are going to take on, you're going to have more harder conversations like that down the road too. But you really just map it out in your head, go through it a couple times, run it through your head as to basically what you want to say and how he's going to react to it and how you're going to respond to that. And you know what you don't want is him to get all defensive because they do that very well sometimes. And what you want to do is just like, this is where I see us going. What are you doing? What do you see me in this role? And you might want to start with that conversation and to say where he's at too. So just a heads up with that. I wish you well with that. I've been there, and I just had to basically see. I wasn't trying to take over from him. What I was trying to do is basically more along the lines. You know, this is something else too, not even my business, this is something else, but it was more of like there was a fear going on. And so unfortunately, that was the culprit of that fear. And then I had to calm him down, like, I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to help. And so you just have that honest conversation, but good luck. I know you could do this. Next question is also from Kristen. What sources are best to use to find people to hire? Um, I need to hire a couple of part-time staff. I used Indeed. Indeed still's the best. I wouldn't do Craigslist. Very scammy. It is scammy. Indeed, your best. It really is. I'm a big fan of LinkedIn too, but LinkedIn's more expensive. But you know what? Here's the deal with Indeed. So people post and pray. In this market right now, it is more than posting and praying. Basically, it is basically that relationship and how you are networking and how you're finding people. And I don't know if you have employees or not, but if you have more employees, use an employee referral bonus program. You know, sometimes it's worth it to pay them $500 to help you find a person that you basically are employing because you're going to spend that much money already on Indeed. So you want to make sure that you have a system in there. And not only that, if you have a really good employee referral bonus program, you better believe that that coworker is going to make sure that new worker is going to work well because that reflects on them. And you could also pay it out after 6 months of both of them being there. And so there's a little bit of a tie-in to see whether or not this person's going to work out. Um, but things like that. But Indeed's probably your best bet. Your number two is your employee referral bonus programs. But like I said, do it well, have a written policy, make sure you pay out on time, make sure you make it a big deal when someone comes aboard through an employee referral. That's a big thing as well. And then lastly, to just make sure that you follow up too. That's why I always tell people when they do Indeed, like it's great to get all these resumes, but one of the things I'm hearing back from candidates is that nobody gets back to them on time. So you really want to be cautious about that because honestly, guys, there are 5 open roles right now for every one person. And when you start seeing data like that, you say to yourself, like, holy crap. So you want to make sure you get back to people, treat them with respect, treat them with kindness, especially if you like them, you can't hire them right now. You want to make sure that, you have them kind of a bench ready to go. So when you do hire them ready to go, your employee referral programs, they don't take a lot of effort. The problem with most of them that fail is that number one, people don't know about them. Number two, they don't make a big deal of them. And number three, they never pay them on time. So the course is going to flop. But if you do it the right way and have somebody in charge of all that to really get it out there, you'll see that you're going to get a lot of employee referrals. Most of my company has been basically brought on by people in employee referral bonus programs. And now I pay a little bit more because I can do that now. But when I first started off, I was probably doing probably like $100 just to have an employer. People still love money, but you make a big deal of that. People love that, and they feel like they're part of the team, and they really appreciate that acknowledgement. Hey, great job to Jamie. She brought in Tommy today. Jamie, thank you so much. People are looking for a lot of that right now. So that's another way for you to help you out with that. All right. So Alex Lichinsky. Hope I said that right. Hello, Alex. What is the best approach to a very important client meeting where you get one opportunity? Um, and so a little bit of background. Hello, mentors. I'm creating a SaaS business where our platform will help influencers and blah, 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 public people manage their digital assets in a way to help them with digital rights management and takedowns of pirated material. Good for you. We help them store assets and manage the assets. I have a big meeting with a potential distributor promoter on our platform to their customers. When going into these meetings, what are strategies to build the relationship and secure them as a partner? Okay, so this is not that it's simple, Alex. Research, 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 research. Research everything about that company. Research in regards to going online, not just to going to their website, but go into Google and just put in there, about that company and get to know the people and where they came from and what schools they went to. I mean, literally know everything about that company. Because lots of times when you go in there and be like, oh, I saw that you went to Penn State. That's great. My kid goes to Penn State. Oh, yeah, what's up? So a lot of times those things break that ice. And when you break that ice, the conversation goes a lot smoother. Now, you can also read a person sometimes too by going into their offices and location. If they have all these golf pictures all over the place, well, somebody likes golf, and you could start that conversation off talking with that. Or maybe you have lots of plants and it's really like a ergonomic kind of a place, and you're just like, wow, this is pretty cool. Like, who started it? What happened? Blah blah blah. It's all those little pieces of communication that make that conversation go a lot more. But that research is huge and get to know the people and get to know where they're from, how long they've been with that company. Well, how long have you been here? Oh, that's great. What keeps you here? Oh, that's great. That's awesome. So that's about perfect. What's been going well? What hasn't been going well? Just to get to know them first before you dive into your presentation sometimes. So sometimes I think people do that and they have their deck and they're all ready and they're nervous and all. Just get to know them as people because that's what they are. We all put our pants on the same way. And, ironically enough, I think most of our conversations, the ones that I've had, have done much better because I've gone in there and just get to know them as people. And you know what's funny? Some of the conversations I've had, they wanted us to talk about this, and we ended up talking about like this because of those conversations that we had. And it was just listening. I just sat there and listened. I had, a lot of times going in with a deck, I hear what you're saying, but I don't even do that anymore. I used to, but now I don't because I just want to have the conversation to get to know them to see whether or not our services can really help them or not at that point. And even though I know it's a big client and we've gotten some really big client names lately, but I never go in there with the whole deck in mind. I go in it, I will follow up with that deck, but I go in there with an open mind, but I've done my research ahead of time because that research is really, really important because the more you know about that company, the more to them says that you care. And that right now is the name of the game. It's all about the caring. So I just hope, if you, good luck. If you need me to prep you at all, feel free to reach out to me individually. I'll gladly do that for you. And then Andy, hey Andy, how do I best approach talking to a manager in my company about their need to practice healthier communication whenever they communicate with their employees? Um, Here you go. I wanted to talk with one of my managers because I want to keep them on board, but I've heard more than once that this person can really come off wrong when communicating with their employees. This kind of stuff slowly but surely creates a tense environment, which indirectly will affect sales, as we have seen before. I want to make sure I don't come off wrong first and start a bad chain reaction since we really want to keep this employee. You know what? I totally agree with that, Andy. But you know what you're going to have to do is say, have a conversation. And you want to say, hey, how are things going? How's the family? To, hey, I just want brought to my attention. Sometimes when you have communications, it doesn't always go well. So I want to talk to you and say, feel from you, how do you think conversations are going? And really hear from them what's going well, what isn't going well. Be like, well, here's an example of a conversation that probably didn't go so well. And it's not good because I have see great potential in you, and I see you moving up. But unfortunately, I need to really focus and help you out with this because I need you to basically understand that everybody here is important, and it all depends upon how you react to it. And so I wanted to see what we could do to help you with this. And you want to make sure that they don't feel defensive, but you're more basically helping them and coaching them. Now, again, you want to practice. If you're not used to this, you got to practice this, and you got to take charge of that conversation too. Because what's going to happen? Sometimes they deflect and say, "Well, it's not my fault, not my fault," and you're like, "Listen, it's nobody's fault. It's just figuring out how can we make this a do better." Because I really want to make sure that you are doing great here in this company. You are a massive asset to this team. I just want to basically help you to get to that next level because I'm a little concerned right now. And so you want to do it that way. You basically put them on the pedestal, but you also want to make sure that you're clear about expectations of where you're at with that. And so, listen, not always do they take it well, but they do come back, and you want to say, listen, 2 days, let's have a recap of our conversation. Want to see what we want to do and how we can move forward. So it actually works really well because a lot of times I think they know that, but no one's brought it up to them. So, but again, practice, practice, practice that because it does work. But I usually have very blunt conversations with my team. When I hear about something, I'm just like, hey, this is what I heard. Just want to hear your perspective and all too, and see how I can help both sides of the story here. And that usually deflates basically that defensiveness. Okay. And good luck. And Kurt, Kurt, here we go. Question is, what is the best way to determine the best opportunity out of a selection of seemingly good options? Mm, da, 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 da. What are you trying to say? I'm at a point in my life now where I've overcome these fears. And when I look at what I've written so far on the authority expert template, my strongest experiences, greatest strengths, and skills that I have developed can all be directly tied to what I've learned in dealing with mental health issues. I guess I'm at a bit of a point where this idea has never left me. But the most immediate opportunities for myself are in the area of brand design, creative direction. I know I want to pursue this brand because of the deeper meaning and personal experience I can speak from, but I also don't want to spread myself thin trying to develop multiple things at the same time. Yeah, so let me tell you, Kurt, I know a lot of CEOs who have like four or five companies and they just can't help themselves. What I would say is, if it's in your head, I know that for myself, I have an idea book that I write down all my ideas so that I don't forget them. And then I put a timeline on when I think I can put that out there. And because, you don't want to overwhelm yourself. And I'm glad that you already see that kind of piece of it. But if that's really where you want to go, really focus on that because you're always going to be thinking about that too. But um, you want to figure out what's the best way and start talking to people about this. Because to me, when I start talking to people about my plans and my ideas, the more I talk about it, the more it's going to happen. And the more I can see basically where it's going to go. But you want to make sure too that you have time. And if you get, to a point where you're so strong about it, who's going to help you build it? And then make sure that you trust there because you can't do it all by yourself. You'll burn out. And you want to make sure that's done the right way. So I get it. You're the entrepreneur. But you want to make sure that you just have a timeline for yourself of basically, this is my plan. This is where I'm going. This is what I want to happen after this. This is how I'm going to make money from it. And you can write it down. I have several friends, like I said, that have four or five businesses and they're all successful. But one, they're very good at delegation. Number two, basically they have people that they trust and they outsource a lot of it. So like the accounting's outsourced, the marketing's outsourced. As long as you're okay with that kind of stuff, this is all possible. But don't feel like you're going to do it all by yourself. It's really, really hard to do. But you want to make sure you're making money on it so that you can do the outsourcing and all as well. But like I said, just write it down, go through your head, start them, but do them as a point where you're getting moving. Just whatever you make the most money on first, start focusing on that because that's going to help you, keep that moving so that you can pay for other stuff and all too. Because it comes down to you could have idea, 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 and if that business isn't making money, then you're basically just you're going like this. You're going on that hamster wheel. So you want to make sure that you do find something that's making you money. Focus on it. You can always go towards it. You could do a lot more, but you got to learn how to delegate and help out other people helping you out with that. Okay. Kyle, hello, Kyle. When hiring, how do I determine if I should pay salary versus hourly? Um, you have a small athletic training facility, working in previous gyms and hiring trainers at previous gyms. I come to find it's tough to keep people who are good at what they do around long enough to build a team when they are getting a few hours here and there at the beginning. Would supplementing their pay with front desk cleaning be the way to keep them, and what pros and cons to hourly salary versus hourly? Well, let me tell you, hourly is much easier when you're starting because you don't have to pay, the taxes that come along with basically having a W-2. So hands down, my first 3 years, I didn't hire a full-time person. I had all 1099s, but I was very, very honest with them. I had them fill out agreements. I got them busy as much as possible. The problem is when you hit after a year with your 1099s, it gets a little sticky because if they're doing the same job and basically getting the same hours and so many hours and all too, and they basically need a little direction here and there, you could say a 1099. If it gets really sticky because a 1099 gets you in trouble because if you see them as an employee or they smell like an employee, they look like an employee, basically that's where the Department of Labor comes in and says, hey, wait a minute, this person was with you for so long, and they look like an employee, they smell like an employee. And what that means basically that you are paying them an amount, but they're coming to work every day, the same thing every day, and they've been so many hours every day. But I would say you start at 1099. Now, the problem with 1099 is a lot of people want to find a home. They want to find a place to go to that they are appreciated and taken care of and all. And unfortunately, that 1099 usually has that connotation of not part of the family because you're not a W-2, you're not an employee. Um, so it also depends how you approach it. I have a lot of clients that are all 1099 employees, and you know what they do? They just let them go and do their thing, and but they're also, I guess, say older because they have consulting background. I think if you have a gym, you have to make them feel special. You have to make them feel like they're part of the team. And you're going to have to create that culture from day one as a 1099, but say, listen, we get to a certain point, I'm going to promote you, and then, go to a W-2 employee because you're not there yet in regards to just paying all the extra things that go away with a W-2. but you can create culture and you can create a teamwork environment. And I think if you're going to spend your time and effort, you want to do stuff like that where people feel like, having a holiday party or having, a little contest or trivias or things like that where people feel like they're a part of it. And, you got to keep in mind, like, think of all the great restaurants are out there. A lot of those people are 1099 as well. And it's the ones that basically you go back to again and again because they know your name. It's a friendly place. Everybody's really happy. They want to help each other out. And most of those places are 1099 as well. So if you figure out that culture of who you want to be known for and like taking care of others. I had a good friend of mine. He too had a service basically that was same thing, had a gym. And what they did is they had to pay like a certain amount to be a part of it. And if you lost, I think it was just 20 pounds, and I think it was like 2 months, 2 or 3 months. If you did, you got your money back, and you just have to pay like a normal fee every month. And his company grew like threefold, and he was so proud of it. And he created this synergy with his teammates. They were all 1099, and it was like they had like these T-shirts made up. It was like this team that they made. Everybody was so pumped up about helping each other out and get it moving. People were flocking to work for him, and he just made this like mini empire. And then he did like he wanted to do a franchise model. The problem with his thing was he burned himself out, and he had like 15 of them, and he kept moving and moving and moving and moving, and it was just insanity. And he was young. He was only like 29 years old, and I just think it wore him out. And so he finally sold off the majority of his shares to somebody else, and he's living in a different state and all now too because he made his money, but he burned himself out because he was just going, going, going. But the team he built was amazing. And I saw him at a walk down the shore this past summer, and I said, "Hey, is Bob with you guys?" He's like, "No, he sold his share, blah blah blah." I said, "I didn't know that." But this team of people that got together for this run were so motivated and so energized, and they were all 1089 individuals. So it can be done. You don't have to create loyalty just because of W-2, but you can create loyalty by the fun and the excitement and knowing their name and being a part of that fun and that growth. And he did phenomenal. So there's definitely a way to do all that. Um, and when you do salary, keep in mind, if you let that person go, the only thing is that you got to pay sometimes for workman's, well, for unemployment, and that's a cost as well. And so just be careful. You can do it hourly, but like I said, if they look like an employee, smell like an employee, after so many hours per year, you want to be careful. Department of Labor doesn't come back to you and say this is first an employee. So first 3 years I had all hourly individuals on my team, and then I finally hired a full-time person to do it. So you want to make sure that there's a cautiousness there. But if somebody's working 40 hours a week, every single week for a full year, that's an employee, no matter what. Okay, but you can get away with it a couple first few years with an hourly person. But like I said, it has to be sporadic. But build that team, build that culture while you're doing it, so that you don't lose those people. You can do it. Eric, okay. What are great ideas to recognize team members for their work and also incentivize them to go above and beyond for the business when needed? You know, um, oh, hey, Eric, that's right. The rat. I love your rat service. That's so cool. Um, Here's the deal. It's so interesting. There's so many great ways to recognize people right now, and I know with us, we basically do with our system. We have impressions and all, but we shout it out there. We use Office 365 for our communication, so Microsoft Teams is a part of it. We send out messages and gifs all the time. Gifs being GIF kind of thing, and we just make people feel like really special. They just want to be known and recognized out there. So we try to do things like that. We also do fun things where it's you bring them into the office, so we make a big deal of it. Like, yeah, this person gets coffee for the week, kind of. It just here's your coffee card for the week, or here's lunch on us, or you just. There's so many great ways to do this out there, guys. I would say the biggest thing is, like, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It's just letting them know that you care about them. One of the best ways to recognize a team member is by sending them a card that basically says, "I'm so excited of how well you are doing, and I'm so happy that you're with this team. I'm looking forward to see where the future takes us." And you know what? Those cards, means so much to your employees. And there's such a simple thing. It costs you a stamp and a little bit of your time. But if you do that, and second thing you want to do, it sounds crazy, send a video thank you and text it to them. That too goes a super long way because like who makes time for their people anymore to do that? So that's another biggie as well. And those are the big things out there. Maybe have employer of the month or employee of the month kind of a thing. It could go on and on and on. I think sometimes people think they have to spend all this money. You don't have to spend a ton of money on this stuff, guys. Um, you can be very creative and basically make it like, hey, this person has unlimited coffee cup of the month or something like that. It's just small things, but there's you just got to recognize them and put their name out there. We have a newsletter that my team puts together every 2 weeks for my internal staff, and we always recognize a lot of people in that too because of the fact that, you know, you can't do this by yourself. And people just like to get recognized. So it's actually sometimes those smaller things that go actually much longer than you think. A gift card's great, right? People get the gift card, yay, yay, yay. But that acknowledgement is huge. And so the more you do that, more you set things up, is really helpful. What we've been doing is like during the holidays, we've done we didn't have time to do 12 days of Christmas, but doing 6 days. And I screwed up on Friday because I forgot to get it out there. So today is going to be 2 days of those 6 days of Christmas, and we start doing like these fun things. And people get back to us because there's so much of us as a remote office here, and we get back to you like that. They really love the trivia. They love all that fun. They like to get recognized. And then I'll put a message out, hey, great job, Joe Smith. You've won today's trivia thing. And they don't even care what they win. They just like having their name out there. So I hope that helps a little bit. But don't go, don't go crazy and spending so much money. You don't have to. It's the little things that actually matter more nowadays, I think. Okay. Next one is a charade. I hope I'm saying that properly. Should my extra money go to saving or debt? I currently do not have a business and work in corporate America with one second job and go to school. I do not currently have debt and I'm trying to cash flowing school as much as I can. I will have to borrow to cover next semester. I am curious, where should I focus to be with my extra funds? I do know of the Dave Ramsey baby steps. Should I be following those steps? Remember, you can book. Okay. Um, should I save? Should my extra money go to saving or debt? You know, actually, right now, so getting money right now is really cheap, and it's really more of a comfort zone. I'm a former accountant. I don't like debt, so I like paying everything off. I have friends of mine who are really like massive entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs, and they like debt, and they say, well, it's cheap money, so why not? And so they're okay with it. It really comes down to your comfortability and your risk exposure. I'm a bigger person to have no debt and save, but I also know that I need to spend money to make money. So it really depends upon what you feel is the right thing to do. It is cheap right now for all this money out there. So a lot of people are taking a lot of advantage of it, and what they're doing is they're buying more businesses, they're doing more things, they're adding more people on, they're getting larger lines of credit. All great. So you want to make sure about that. Now, what's going to happen next year? Fed's basically going to say they're going to raise their interest rate 3 times throughout the next year. So that means that debt is going to cost it depends if you get locked in or not. But if you get locked in, you're fine. But if you don't, kind of if you go off of prime, it's going to go a little bit higher to pay that back. So be careful about that. It shouldn't be crazy though. But it's really depends upon what you want to do, what you want to do with it. Most of my entrepreneurs basically are okay with that because they feel as if they're going to a bigger thing. They see this vision of where they want to go, and they have definitely tapped a lot of their stuff right now because money's so cheap. So it depends upon what you feel and how you comfortable you feel with that. Um, and that's it. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's cool. All right. I am done for the day with questions out there. Like I said, with happy holidays out there, guys, be careful with the some of the parties. I've seen some pretty interesting videos out there in regards to team members and, things that probably shouldn't happen. Just be careful because everybody has social media nowadays, and that could definitely go backfire on everybody. So be careful what you're doing with that. But make sure that you do reach out to everybody during the holidays. Say thank you. It's a great time. The Great Resignation is at hand, and I think next year is going to be a tricky year for a lot of us for retention purposes. So right now, all those things that you're doing, the thank yous, the small videos, the personal cards, really go a long way And you know, people are waiting for year-end bonuses and all too. So we think, and we see probably end of January where people are going to resign a little bit more than we're used to seeing. So do whatever you can right now to make sure you're taking care of your team, make sure they feel comfortable, because that's the last thing you want. Because it's going to get really busy again, beginning of or middle of January, and you don't want people leaving. So make sure you spend that extra time now to make sure that people feel appreciated and welcomed. Okay. But in the meantime, I want you guys to have a happy holidays. It's so great working with you guys this year. Please keep reaching out to Sean and his team. They are amazing. They do so much out there. I wish you guys would really see everything that they do provide for everybody out there. It's a great resource. It's a great group of people. And, you know, by all means, you can do this. Entrepreneur is not easy, but you did it because you really love your idea and have an idea in mind, and you should do it. And you know, just want to wake up every day like I got this, and you will do it, and you got this. But like, let nobody get in your way to say that you can't do it, because it's your life. Okay. But happy holidays, guys. Happy New Year. Stay safe, stay well out there. I know that big O word is going around, but you know, just hang in there, guys. We'll get through this once again. And a happy New Year, everybody. Take care. Bye bye.